Welcome to Gone Your Soul.
Rites and Rituals podcast.
I'm Linda Irving.
I'm Victoria Burnham.
And we are here to talk about ceremony, ritual.
And all the good and juicy things that go along with that.
Through a Scottish lens.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to be back. Thank you for anybody that's watching, anybody that's listening. Can we say thank you to those people who do watch and who do listen, and those people who have subscribed and who've got in touch to say that they're enjoying the conversations and the banter. Thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. So, what are we talking about today? What have you decided that we're talking about today?
Well, I thought we would dive in, or at least dip our toe in, to signs and messages that we may or may not be aware that we are receiving from spirit, from those who walk beside us through the veil. And it's such a huge, or the universe, whichever way you want to, call what is sending us messages. And it's such a huge topic. I was a little bit kind of, where do we actually start with this? Because we all have, well, maybe not all of us, but all of us have a wee story about something that's happened to us. And you think, oh, was that Auntie Mary or whatever, that kind of thing. But I think it's on a grander scale, talking about what the universe, as in spirit or source, the messages that is being sort of sent our way, as well as the personal messages that I feel that I know are coming from somebody that I have loved and lost, or somebody back who is one of my guiding spirits or ancestors, or along those lines.
So it's that a wee bit of a differentiation, can't even speak today, between those personal messages that might be coming from your mum who's passed and those wee nudges you get from spirit. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can sort of cross over and talk about both sides. I do feel that the bigger messages that are sent to us with a wee nudge or sometimes a bloody great shove, because I don't listen and I really don't hear these messages until literally they are, obvious, are trusting your intuition. And that, I think, your intuition is almost like your inner voice that is coming from somewhere else. And I think because we live in a physical world, and spirit is not a physical being of such, then, because people go, well, if there is such a spirit, why don't they just come and, talk to you and an angel floating in front of you or something like that? But we have physical boundaries within this world. So spirit has to be more subtle. And of course, people say, oh, I saw a vision and this, and these are beautiful things and dreams, and I think that's all messages and things. But I think what's really lovely is being able to try to tune into those messages and maybe little nudges here and there. And that's where it becomes difficult in the lives that we lead, because we are so in full throttle all the time. We're always so super busy. There's always noise going around. And we talk a lot about we were just talking there about silence. Those moments, whether you sit in silence and just silence your brain, or a moment of meditation. And these are when you can actually start looking inward and start tuning into your intuition. We all have those weird feelings, your gut tells you, and it's a bit like your head and your heart. And I think our head is more the human side. It's more of the ego side that maybe stop us listening, whereupon the heart or your intuition is the voice. It's this messages that you should be tuning into. Because I know we all feel things at times, and we think, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to leave my job. That's it." But what you have to listen to is, why are you going to leave your job? What is telling you to leave your job? One of the funniest films, I don't know, I'm just going off at a tangent here. Have you ever seen The Man with Two Brains?
Yes,
with Steve
I have.
Martin?
Yes.
So there's a scene in that. If you've
it's a
not seen
great
it,
movie.
if you've not seen it, you must see it. It's hilarious. There's a scene in that where he's standing in front of his dead wife's portrait in their big fancy mansion, and of course she's passed over, and he's met and fallen in love with someone else, and he says to this portrait, "If you feel," to his dead wife, "if you feel that I am making the wrong choice, please send me a sign. Give me a sign." And in that moment, the portrait starts spinning, the room is crashing around, and he's just standing there, because Steve Martin's a genius, dead still, and the whole room is trashed, and it's like a complete cyclone has gone through it, and there's wailing, and she's going, "No!" And then it's all quiet, and he goes, "I'll be waiting for that sign."
And that is so on point, isn't it? It's so on point, the signs that you're right that we miss, and through our socialisation, I'm thinking of, I used to use the sort of analogy, if that's the right word, of a woman going into a building on her own, going into a lift, waiting for a lift to go up, and the lift door opens and there's a man standing in the lift. And immediately everything inside her is saying, don't get in the lift. But somehow, because of our socialisation, we think that's rude.
Yep.
And we might upset or offend that man, and so we just get into the lift. Now, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be absolutely fine. But you're absolutely right. We, in many cases, ignore what our gut is telling us. We override it because we're too busy. It doesn't suit us.
And I think a lot of the time is because, as you say, we are brought up to behave in a particular way. Things like, it could be something small, like you've misplaced your keys in the morning and you're running late for a meeting and you're so stressed out and you know you're going to be 10 minutes late, but you eventually find your keys. Mm-hmm. If you think about that, you knew where those keys were, but what was stopping you from leaving those 10 minutes earlier? What could have happened in those 10 minutes? Is that somebody or something or spirit looking after you?
Yeah. Could there have been a road accident in the
anything
part
like
of the road that you'd have been on that 10 minutes before? I know, I love thinking about it. I mean, it blows your mind when you keep diving into it, the possibilities of that. Mm-hmm. But you're right, I think it's so important to take some time to go inside, to tune in to what your gut's telling you, your intuition's telling you. I don't want to keep harping on about my cancer, but I really feel that all those symptoms that I was having was spirit saying, there's something wrong in your body you need to pay attention to. Mm. So the fatigue and the not eating properly and just that feeling that there's something and no right. But
you're so get up and go, always on the move. So you would just be like, oh, I'm too busy to go to the doctor. I'm too busy to acknowledge that I'm not myself.
Yeah, well, I think it's part that, and then part you go to the doctor and they say it's just the menopause. They tend to say to us women. So you want to buy into that. Okay, that's no great. I don't want to have to live with this. But now looking back, I think it was definitely spirit saying, it got me to a point where I was so physically exhausted. We called it tired face. My daughter and I called it tired face, and she would look at me and say, "You've got tired face." Every part of me was tired, including my face, which is, as you say, I'm a kind of always on the go person. So I think the universe was its way of saving me. Mm-hmm. By saying there's something wrong, you need to pay attention to this.
For this.
And I think that happens in your relationships, these wee nudges that there's something no right here. You're unhappy. I've been married and divorced twice, so I'm not really very good at it. But but I've learned a lot from it, right? And so I can look back at my relationships and say there was times where my gut was saying to me, you need to sit and pay attention to this, or it's time. You override these things because it doesn't suit you, or you convince yourself, well, how will I survive if I leave? And, you make it about money, and you make it about what other people will think, and you make it about this, and you make it about that. But actually, if we did pay more attention to our intuition, it's really trying to keep us balanced all the time, and safe, and whole. And whole, I think.
So how do we make that space? That's the thing, because this comes back to spiritual practices or daily rituals and things like that to sort of tune in. And it's okay to have questions.
And to have some fun with it. If you're just starting out, I would be having some fun with it. So I would be sitting down, quietly, whether it's at your wee altar or whatever, and just saying, okay, I'm going out on Saturday night, and I don't know whether to wear my green dress or my red dress. Can you help guide me? Now, it's not just about the dress you wear, it's about everything that comes out of you wearing that dress, the confidence you feel, and how that attracts people to you, and et cetera, et cetera. And so play with it a wee bit. Should I go for the green? Can you send me a wee signal? And see what happens. Now, people would say if you walk out your house and there's a green car sitting there, and you go, that's it, I'm wearing the green dress, purely circumstantial. Well, it might be. I understand that it might be, but it might not.
But if you're open to it.
If you're open to it.
And that's exactly it. It's not a big, heavy, it doesn't have to be a big, heavy thing. And, as much as we talk about spirit, I think a lot of the time, if you have that belief that maybe your lost loved ones are there as well, sending you these wee little messages here and there, they're very playful. In fact, I had the other day, I was doom scrolling in my bed, and I came across this woman. She talks about signs, and she'd lost her daughter, but she gets lots of messages and signs, and it was lovely. It was kind of half in, half out. And I scrolled on, and I said, right, okay, Stefan. So Stefan's my brother who passed away. I haven't heard from you for a while, so can you give me a sign? Now, I always associate, I think this is what we all tend to do, is we associate one person with something in particular. Right, yeah. So it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a rainbow, and that, it always has been rainbows for me. So literally about the second thing I scrolled down to, and you could call it the algorithm, I don't know, was some guy climbed a mountain to honour his dead brother, and there was a massive rainbow on this film thing. It didn't click, see, because I really do need a proper boot up the arse when it comes to seeing these messages. Later that day, I was doing a funeral ceremony, and one of the songs that I know it was played quite a bit, but not often, was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Mm-hmm. And then, sadly, my friend texted me later on that day saying that her dog had passed over the Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, no.
And as much as I was like, oh, gosh, I'm so sorry, I suddenly clicked. I suddenly thought, you've given me 3 rainbows today, and I did not acknowledge one.
Yeah.
And started laughing.
Yeah. Well, there's that story of the man who's hanging off a cliff, and he's saying, God, please help me. And a helicopter appears and he says, no, it's okay, God's going to save me. And then a boat appears and he's like, no, God's going to save me. And then something else, I don't know, can't remember what else it is, appears. And he falls off the cliff and dies and goes up to heaven and says, why did you not save me? And he says, what are you talking about? I sent you a helicopter, I sent you a boat, I sent you whatever else it was, and you just completely ignored it. So I think that's the same thing that you're talking about, these messages. My daddy died 3 years ago, and when he was in active dying, my kids and I were sitting at his bedside, and we were talking about, if he comes back, what do we think he will come back as? And we decided he would come back as a stag. And so that's kind of become the thing when we see stags, and they bought me a big beautiful painting of a stag and
lovely.
such things. So we see stags, we think, oh, there's Grandpa. Everybody called my dad Grandpa. But about 2 weeks ago or something, I was playing with one of my grandsons, and suddenly he went, "Oh, yeah, beauty." Which is such a strange thing.
It's an
for a
old
kid
man's
to
thing
say.
to
It's an
say.
old man's thing to say, right? Such a strange thing. And the hairs in the back of my neck stood up, because he wouldn't have heard that from me or from his parents, but that was something my dad said all the time. "Oh, yeah, beauty." And you could say, oh, well, maybe he remembers his great-granddad. No, because he only met him like a handful of times. They stayed in New Zealand and yada, yada. So I immediately was like, first of all, I said, "Okay, Grandpa, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. What's the message?" Because that's what I look for next. Are you just saying hello? I'm here, which is lovely. Hello, I see you, and through my wee grandson, how absolutely beautiful. But the next place I go to is, what's the message? Because sometimes it's just about, it's okay, I'm here. I remember doing a funeral ceremony in Falkirk Crematorium, and the lady loved feathers. And every time she saw a feather, she thought it was her mum. Some people it's robins, some people it's rainbows, some people it's feathers. This lady was feathers. And so the family had found white feathers in all sorts of different places, from her passing to the ceremony, which is usually, about a week. They found all these feathers. I mean, we had talked about it in the family visit, and we actually, in the front of the funeral ceremony, the draft that I sent them, it had a big beautiful feather on it, and so it was quite a thing. And then on the day of the funeral, I don't know if you've been to Falkirk Crematorium, but the catafalque, and that's the structure that the coffin sits on during the service, the ceremony, the coffin slides inside it.
Right.
And then this big heavy blue curtain gets brought down over the end of it. And so we were all standing up, and the funeral director and the crematorium assistant came forward to move, once the coffin was in, to move the curtain down, and there on the curtain, so you get this beautiful, rich blue, heavy velvet curtain, and there right in the middle was this big white feather. And I looked at the family, because it was her husband and 2 kids, kind of older kids, but I looked at them, they saw it, they were shocked. And then you heard this kind of audible gasp in the crematorium as they all clicked. Oh my goodness, there's a feather on there. And I just went and gently picked it and took it over and gave it to her daughter, I think it was that I gave it to. But it was such a moment of, I'm here, I'm okay. Yeah. There's so much wrapped up in that.
One little symbol of something, and it gives so much comfort and joy at that particular moment. So why do we overanalyze? That's what we do. We overanalyze these messages, or it's a coincidence, and why are we so conditioned to not accept that it could be something otherworldly?
Because we're not really connected with otherworldly stuff, really, as we've said many times before. I think we, as children, are really connected to the sacred, as we would describe it, and to anything otherworldly. I see my grandsons, and you talk to them, they understand what a portal is. And they will talk to me about portals. They play that Minecraft, and they're always talking about portals in Minecraft. But they understand that a portal is, you go through it and you'll end up in another dimension. And they're very, very comfortable with that. And we tell stories, I read them stories, and it's all about fairies and dragons and, just otherworldly, mysterious stuff. And they love it. They're so connected to it. And they completely accept it. They think I can do magic. And so they will say to me, "Nanny, can you do your magic and get us a sweetie?" And of course, because they're kids, they don't realise that I've gone into the fridge and I've got 2 sweeties, and I've somehow magic them, and they just think, but they accept it. They're so accepting. And if it turned out that I was able to do magic, I know they would be very accepting of that. But then we go to school,
Yes.
We have to grow up. And we have to stop being silly, and we have to go and get a job, and we have to live in the real world. And we lose it. It gets suppressed. I don't think we lose it.
Yes,
it gets suppressed.
And interestingly, we had an online gathering last night with Rites and Rituals, and that was something that we touched on, wasn't it? With the fact that we were talking about spirituality, and when did you have your spiritual awakening of sorts? And people were talking about, when I was a child, blah, blah. And then it's only recently that people are coming back to it. It's almost like you become more comfortable more comfortable with perhaps being a little bit different than other people.
But it feels like a homecoming.
Yes.
It feels like a homecoming.
It feels right.
Once people find it again, they're maybe a wee bit cautious about using some of the languages that people were talking about last night, because they don't want to sound all hocus pocus, kumbaya. I totally get that. But people are really drawn to it and feel comfortable in that world of knowing that there's something else walking beside us.
And it is the huge amount of comfort. I mean, a very good friend of mine, Dawn, and I've asked permission to speak about her son. I met Dawn a few years ago, sadly, when her son died of a brain tumour, and his name is Jay. And what I found quite interesting is a lot of people who die are almost like young. They're almost like more in tune spiritually than it's almost like a feeling that maybe they knew somehow they weren't going to be here that long. They seem much more mature, much more in touch with their sort of families and spirituality, and open for discussions. And he was one of those, is one of those young people. And before he died, obviously, I mean, you can't think of anything worse than for a mother to nurse your son until his death. And even when he was dying, he had a very, quite a scientific mind, very intelligent. But he said to his mum, look, don't worry. I know what's going to happen. These are different planes. It's all, I'll just be moving on to a different plane, and I will make sure I'm okay. Well, he's no bloody stopped. I swear to God. Dawn and I have grown very close, and she is obviously initially it was just a hell for her, and we didn't know each other that well at the time. But even the first time we met and I went to her home, I walked into her house, and I hadn't been a celebrant for very long, so I was quite nervous. My first young person. She didn't know that at the time. And I knew this is going to be huge, because this is a very different kind of thing for me to do, to hold this family through this. I didn't know what to expect. I walked into her home, and my mobile phone, which is always switched off, especially at that stage, because you're panicked, you want everything to be right, started playing a football game on my phone that my boys had put on like years ago, and I'd never taken it off. And it started, and I was so I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was trying to, I couldn't switch it off, and I was all sweaty hands. And, I'm thinking, I'm supposed to be holding these people. And she says, what is it? I says, oh, it's a football game. I don't even know. I've never even opened the app. And she says, oh, that's Jay. So that's Jay. He says, you're the right person to be here. And
he's messing.
See, goosebumps.
He's messing with you.
Totally, and he messes with us all the time. And he's such a strong force of energy that Dawn has obviously come through hurdle after hurdle, but he has had her back 100%. And every day he sends her messages, like the most obscure things. Even she was in his room, obviously his room still as his room, and she'd been sitting in there with a glass of water. And as she walked out, she kind of dropped the water. And it sounds batshit crazy, but she sent me a picture, and the water spelt out a J on the floor. It's all those little things, and there's ladybug, lots of messages that he sends through
that she's tuned into.
And that's the key, because you can miss the ladybug that lands on your lap when you haven't seen a ladybird for. Why do we ask ladybug's American thing, isn't it? Ladybirds are Scottish.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen one for years, suddenly there is one there. You know, his thing was he played poker, so the poker signs, you know, the card signs, the ace thing. She sees them everywhere.
Yeah.
Numbers are another thing. If you believe in sort of numerology and angel numbers and that kind of thing, I see 2121 quite a lot, which is quite a common one. It tends to be that I look at my phone and it's 2121, and that is a sign that basically says you're okay, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Whether is it coincidence? I can say, oh yeah, that's just coincidence. I don't want to believe that's coincidence.
And that's okay. And that's the whole point about, we're talking about sacred, and we're talking about objects here, or, you know, ladybirds or whatever it is. It's not about the object itself. It's about the relationship we have with it. And so if we decide that that's sacred, that has meaning. And this is what kind of annoys me a wee bit. I don't get annoyed easily, but when people say, oh, I saw a robin yesterday and I knew it was my brother, and you get people rolling their eyes like, what a load of shit. That, I just think, why would you say that? Because they have injected meaning into the fact that wee robin's on their windowsill or whatever. My friend Joan, her daddy died, and you know, she obviously absolutely distraught. Her mum's still here, and every time they go up to see him at the graveyard, which they do regularly, there's a wee robin there, and to them that's him. And then her brother died earlier this year, and when they went for his funeral, the wee robin was there. Now they have given meaning to that wee robin, and that meaning is that my dad is here, my brother is here, they're okay. What on earth is wrong with that?
Exactly.
What is wrong with injecting meaning into something that brings you comfort and love and makes you think that your loved ones are okay?
It's so true, because it's almost like saying to a 3 or 4 year old, oh, Santa doesn't exist. I mean, why would you do that? Why?
Because you're an arsehole.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
To crush somebody and to disillusion them. And we do have, you know, like your robins, your rainbows, and foxes, for example. That we, over time, the robin we know is a messenger. Well, that's how people say it, as a messenger. The foxes, for example, I see a lot of foxes. They can travel. To me, they can travel between both veils, and also spirit can communicate with animals because they're much more open, intuitive than humans. So they can use that as almost a tool to get our attention. And it's about getting our attention, but you have to be open to it.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, I think. One of the biggest things I've learned in my whole life is to be open to stuff that you don't know, you don't understand. I remember, you know, we are going back 30 years
300 years.
Yeah, 300 years ago. Till when this journey was really, it was my homecoming, and I started to come back to this journey, and I went down south to do a course on hypnosis. And it was a great big house, and we all stayed there for like 3 weeks, and, you know, you did theory all day, and then at night you did some sort of practical stuff or whatever. And I knew nothing about shamanism. I don't think I'd even heard of it before. But one day they said, oh, we are going to have a shamanic journey on, say, Tuesday night, and you're all welcome to attend. You don't have to, but you're welcome to attend. And of course, at this point, I was trying to open myself up to everything. And when they explained it, I thought, you know, they kind of explained it in terms, you're going to go off and meet your spirit animal. And I did think, but I said I'll go along and I'll just sit and I'll just watch. So we were all in this, it was an old Victorian house. We were all in this old living room, and there was a non-working fireplace. And the guy kind of explained, there was people sitting with drums, and he said, when the drums start, you're just going to allow your eyes to close and just listen to the beat of the drums. And then when you're ready, you're going to go off up the chimney. So that was the first thing, because at that time I had claustrophobia, and I thought, I ain't going up no chimney. Absolutely. So that was the first thing that really jarred with me, which often when you're doing that kind of work, something that jars with you, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
stop.
You're
You're blocked.
So he said, you got the chimney. And then he said, and you'll go off and you go on a shamanic journey and you'll meet your spirit animal. And he said, it might be a horse, it might be an eagle, it might be a lion. And I was thinking, you're just putting suggestions.
You didn't say hamster, did you?
No, you're just putting suggestions into people. So everybody's just going to come back saying, I've seen a horse and I've seen this.
All these powerful
really
creatures.
powerful animals. So I thought, I'm just going to go away, and I shut my eyes and not expecting anything to happen. Whoosh, next minute, whoosh, I was up the chimney. Honestly, up that chimney. And I was standing in the top of this really sort of lush green hill, and I realised that in front of me there was a well. It's a bit like a dream. You don't know how you know stuff, you just know. There was a well, and I couldn't see down inside it, but I knew I was to jump into it, which, you know, in the real world, that would never have happened.
But then your head in the real world would say, don't jump, but your heart in your dream state
my dream state was just like, so I jumped into this well, and I landed on this soft dirt. It was fine. And I sat down, and I just sat. I was very comfortable, and just sat there for a minute, and then I realised that I wasn't alone. There was another presence there with me, and I happened to look down, and there was this giant, ugly toad.
So not the lion or the eagle.
No. So if you had said to me, make a list
of spirit animals
that you would want, a toad would have been, if not at the bottom, quite close to the bottom. But there it was. And this toad and I had this most wonderful, beautiful, poignant conversation. Not like this, just like this. And he talked about my family, and I asked him questions, and it was just absolutely, it was so lovely. It was such a profound journey for me. And the next minute, I was coming back into the room, but I didn't realise I was crying. I was crying, there was people in front of me saying, oh, they let me come around saying, are you okay? Is everything okay? I was like, oh, just had the best experience. You know, so they thought there was something wrong. And I just had this really beautiful, beautiful experience. And it taught me a lot about opening yourself up to stuff. So now when people say, oh, spirit animals, I say, the toad is my true spirit animal. Of course, it can change in every shamanic journey you go on, you can have different animals. But the toad remains my true love in the spirit animal world.
And that and the conversation that you had would be answering questions that you possibly didn't even know that you needed to ask or to have answered. And that's how beautiful it is you have to be able to almost shed the human side of you and open yourself up. And a lot of time it can happen through some traumatic event. Like, for example, grief, extreme grief can just crack you right open, you know, and then you are more, you know, open to seeing things, to feeling other presence, to messages. It can do the opposite, obviously. You can just shut you right down and you know, make you crawl under a duvet. But sometimes a big event in life almost kind of sheds that, cracks you open and goes, okay, what is there? And it's, as you say, you can have fun with them or spirit, but normally it's something that you know that they only have the best intention for you.
Yeah.
Or just fun little things. I remember standing outside the crematorium when the hearse, Mason Hill in Ayr, and the hearse comes down the drive, and we stand there, and when the hearse pulls up, it just, you know, take a nice bow, and it's a nice formal moment. But I was waiting, and I was just standing there, and a balloon, just a little love heart balloon from nowhere just appeared at my feet. And there was an elephant on it and it said, "Happy birthday."
Oh.
And it was my birthday the next day.
Oh.
And I was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little, and obviously it's come from somebody's memorial for something in the crematorium gardens. But it really warmed me and gave me comfort and just a lovely warm sense that we're not alone. And it was a wee birthday, and that balloon, this was about 3 years ago, is still fully intact, sitting in my office.
Aww.
And it's those wee things that keep us connected to something greater.
But it's the noticing them. It's the opening yourself
yes.
up, as you say, because I think we get, bombarded with messages every day. I think we're always been sent messages and signs, and some of them we see and we ignore. Many of them we don't even see because our head's down, we're rushing through life. But then occasionally you do see something and it's brought to your attention, or you get a great big kick up the backside and you end up with cancer, and that's the point where you can say, right. And I always say, thank you, universe. Mm-hmm. Whenever something happens and, I got a wee sign, a wee parking angel or something, thank you, universe.
I know, it's the little things, isn't it? The little things that happen, and it's carrying gratitude with you every day for those little things. And yes, we're not going around going, oh yes, this is this, and this is wonderful, they're coming through and I can feel spirit. It's not that. And I think that spirit probably gets really pissed off with the fact that most of us spend our entire time with our heads down, or not listening, or not taking the time to sit. And it's okay to ask for validation.
Yeah. I don't mean challenge it. I don't think spirit gets pissed off.
Okay.
Ever with anybody. Spirit's just an energy. Spirit's just an energy. It's just there doing its thing. And
I do feel sometimes, though, that they will roll their eyes.
But then you're giving it form. And we say we don't believe in a spirit that's got form.
But it makes
so
you
you're
laugh,
saying if it didn't form, it would roll its eyes and go for
finally.
Sake.
Jesus.
If it was Scottish, for fuck's sake.
Well, that's exactly it.
Scottish deity.
I mean, I think it's about going right back again to finding that stillness, being aware, and being accepting and open.
Yeah.
And don't shut yourself down from things. As some can be as crazy and as out there, and it can be as just as gentle as, the feather that you see in front of you.
Yeah, and it's all welcome. Whatever your connection with the divine is, it's all welcome, right? So if you're seeing a robin out the back door and you think it's your son, how beautiful, how lovely. Have those conversations. And I love when you're going to see families, family visits, and you start talking to them, and it's always the same. It's non-religious. No, we don't want any non-religious. And then it comes out somewhere, because I have these gentle conversations. Did she believe in anything? Do you think you'll see her again? Would she think she'll see you again? Because one person can believe one thing and another person, just because they're married doesn't mean they have to believe the same stuff, right? But and sometimes that opens up a door, and they start saying, oh yeah, she's still here. I was talking to her in the kitchen last night, and I go, oh, I bloody love that.
I love that too. Or you have the opposite side where you go in and they say, oh, no religion thing. Oh, well, but on a more of a, did she believe in anything else? No, absolutely not. And you look around and there's like every shelf's got a fucking angel on it and like love hearts with this.
And the quotes they pick for the orderly service.
No, absolutely nothing. I'm thinking butterflies everywhere.
But we're talking about how we're just all sleepwalking through life. Not all sleepwalking through life, we're generalising, but some people sleepwalk through life forgetting to take the time just to sit down and think, what does that angel mean on the shelf? Is it just our grandchildren brought us it and we don't want to throw it out? But even at that, what's the meaning? There's still deep meaning behind that, right? What does that mean to us? What does that object mean to me? and taking that time to reflect on you and your place in the world and the people around you and the people that you've connected with over the years and the place that we're all headed. And we're not that good, most of us, I don't think, at doing that. And that includes looking for the signs and the signals and the wee nudges that we're getting. Because, as you know, I don't know if I've said this before, but I believe death is always walking beside me.
You look at, which I think is, I embrace that. I remember you told this a couple of years ago. I was having a chat with you about it, and you see death as a friend,
A companion. Yeah, she
And I
walks
love
beside
that.
me. She walks beside me, but not like waiting to put her big bony hand on me.
big sigh.
She walks beside me. She knows, and I know, that one day I'm going to fall and she's going to catch me and carry me off. No to the big bad burny place, but just to wherever I'm going next, to the ayont, and I'm okay with no knowing where that is. But she is always with me, and she is the one that whispers in my ear, buy that T-shirt. If you want it, buy it. Because she knows that day is coming when she's going to catch me. And she's the one that will whisper, you're doing too much. Try and slow down, because trying to hurry me along that path. So I believe death walks beside me as a companion. And I'm very grateful for her being there. I have conversations with her all the time, and I'm trying to listen to the messages that are coming through from her and from the sacred and from my ancestors, those wise and lovings, and from my daddy and from all around.
Because you also get the physicality, don't you? You may get the goosebumps or something. Or
well, like I said, with my grandson saying that, and the hairs,
the hairs stand up
back,
because
and the back of my neck stood up.
We can feel that presence. We know it's there, but as a human, we can't necessarily rationalise what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm okay with the not knowing.
I think that's
it's just fascinating.
I know.
It's just fascinating. As children, we live a life of wonder. We're curious. And I sometimes think about children the first time they see something, what they think. So the big one is snow. Kids that have never seen snow, and they see snow, and it's just, it's the best thing ever. But that happens for every single thing in the world. A child sees it for the first time. And there's that real sense of wonder, and they'll sit with it and they'll pull it apart. If you're my grandsons, they'll pull it apart. And we kind of lose that sense of wonder. I think part of being on a spiritual journey is trying to regain that sense of wonder and to walk through the world with a sense of wonder and curiosity. I think that's a big part for me about being spiritual, is to walk through the world with a sense of curiosity. And part of that is what's beyond this life. What do these messages, what is this, I'm getting this warm feeling when I'm talking about my dad, or it's come up to his anniversary and all of a sudden I've got this sign, or what does that actually mean? Is it just coincidence, or is there something deeper? Are those people beside me and can hear me? And I believe they are. You believe that they are. And it's okay if you don't believe that. I'm not judging anybody in any way, shape or form. But how wonderful that we get to walk through life and ask these questions, and to be able to be open. Some of the people were saying last night, and it's happened in a few of our gatherings, people a wee bit apprehensive about being open about the spirituality, in case it gets frowned upon. People poo-poo it. They think they're daft. They think they're, a bit batshit crazy. But we're at the point where we're okay with that. We're okay with people think we're batshit crazy. We think we're batshit crazy.
Well, in fact, we embrace it now.
We embrace it. We're happy with that. But we also get to have these beautiful conversations, not just here, but with the whole Rites and Rituals family.
I think that's what we all come up against, isn't it? Is like the world of science is incredible. To me, that's an incredibly sort of spiritual world anyway. The things that are being discovered and, every single day and explained. But nobody can explain what happens next. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes me a little bit confused when someone with a mind of science will say, well, there's no explanation for it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But if they don't know, we don't know, then why take the wonder out of it? Is it fear?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Is that another podcast?
Yeah, that's a big question. Why take the wonder out of it? Why take the joy out of it for people? Why not just let people get what they need from it, or what they want from it, whatever it might be? I love it. We're lost in our heads with that question.
We've just gone,
like,
my little brain exploded there. And I think that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? It's just going about our busy lives, day to day, getting the wee nudges here and there. Be open, be aware. And, if a robin lands on your window ledge and just even that moment of stillness, that little creature is being still with you.
And the sacred is in that stillness.
It's beautiful.
But that's a really good point. So what wee ritual could we give? So if people want to can explore that a wee bit more, so being open to signs coming through to them. So looking for, might be a feather, might be a robin, might be a rainbow. What
numbers,
else? Numbers. What? Patterns. Mm-hmm. Animals. So look for animals. So
nature has so much.
So much. But if you know anybody that is into shamanism, or you can get yourself along to taking part in a shamanic journey, and just seeing at this point in your life what what animals come to visit you, because if you then find. What you tend to find, or I tend to find with shamanism, if you're doing a shamanic journey and you're off through some portal and you're going and you're asking questions and an animal appears, say it's birds, the last time I did it was birds, then you start to notice birds everywhere. It's like if you buy a new car, you don't see that car ever in the whole history of the world, and then you buy a car and it's everywhere on the road. And it's a bit like that. So you see birds everywhere and you can think, oh, you're bringing a message to me. What message are you bringing? So you can do that. But you can also sit down at your wee altar or on your chair and you can spend some time going inwards.
Yes,
just
looking in.
Reflecting, trying to connect with your gut and ask questions. If you've got stuff going on in your life or things you want to have answers to, ask those questions and see what comes up.
Because we all hold those answers within us. They all come. All those answers inside us come from source. Well, I believe anyway.
Absolutely.
And I think it is. We don't listen to our intuition or our gut because we don't have there's too much noise going on, or we think it's rational, or is it an easier option just to grin and bear whatever we're going through. I think it is about finding those small rituals that you can take, a walk in nature, or
and see what comes up for you, see what shows up for you.
Write a question before you go to bed, and maybe perhaps in your dream something might come through. That's another really strong way that you can be connected with spirit and why the wise beings. But dream world, bit like the shamanic journeys, it's almost like your subconscious will answer. We put up so much armor. I think that's what basically signs, meanings, messages from whatever you believe, whether it's a spirit or source or the universe or
your loved ones
or God, anything like that. It's just a matter of being open to it, and if they don't get through first, believe me, they'll keep trying. Those messages will keep coming until you get slap in the face.
Well, I've told my family when I go, I'm coming back. You better be ready for this because
I'm
there
watching
will
you.
be no ambiguity in those messages. Nanny's back. Right. Well, does that feel like a good place to leave it? Thank
does
you,
indeed. Thank you
Victoria,
so
for that
much.
fabulous topic. Thank you to anybody that's watching and listening. If you've liked what you've heard or you want to ask any questions, please drop us a wee comment. You can watch these and listen to them on Spotify and YouTube. And you can subscribe and you can send us a wee email. But if you have had any signs from the beyond, we would love to hear. We would love to hear your story. If it's good enough, you might end up sitting here with us talking about it. You never know.
Exactly. We've all got a story.
Everybody's got a story. And in the end, we all become stories. Right, stop it, Lindy.
She's away down a rabbit hole again.
Thank you for watching. And as always, go on your soul.
Go on your soul.